What I originally thought would be a game that I'd have little interest in has turned into an over 100-hour adventure across the Palapagos Islands. Palworld has proven to be a deep survival experience with a surprising level of polish and the charm of creature raising baked right into it. Over the past couple weeks, I've managed to reach level 50 and have gotten a general feel for many of the game's systems, but there's still so much left to do, and the game is still in early access, and there's still a ton of room to expand and build upon the game. In this list, I'll be going over some features and quality of life that I think could make a big difference and create a more fleshed out experience for the full release. Starting at number 1 would be branching technology trees or specializations. While you follow a fairly clear progression system, where making cement by hand will normally take hours if not days, and eventually branch into assembly lines that can mass produce it in a matter of seconds, it would be nice to see some nuance and in character identity. In a game like Stardew Valley, you get your choice between different perks as you level up. Depending on whether you enjoy spending more of your time growing crops or raising animals, you get to choose between either the rancher or tiller profession. Rancher increases the worth of animal products, and tiller increases the worth of crops. In Palworld, you could choose between something like faster production times or faster cooking times. These could be anything from simple passives to influencing what weapons you have access to. The urban style could offer more types of bows and spears, while the industry route could offer more modern types of weapons. Going hand in hand with player identity would be a morality system or a reputation system. While it may be natural to occasionally hunt pals for resources, there are some decisions that can be made in the game that any sane person would normally deem downright evil. A morality system would delve into decisions to engage in activities like butchering pals, trading contraband, and expand upon the inability to step foot in sanctuaries. Engaging in notorious acts, following a more dark route, could result in things like reduced contraband prices, enemy syndicates not attacking you on sight, but could lock you out of things like going to settlements. Following a more good alignment could make it possible to obtain sanctuary pals, and perhaps offer a more permanent option to remove enemy bases from the world. And at this point, let's get the obvious one out of the way, and that's going to be more exploration, more pals, more areas, new story. While the world is beautiful and vast, currently the most prominent feature on the map, the Elder Tree, cannot even be explored. A huge system that could go along with the introduction of new areas is the inclusion of seasons and weather. Palworld has a day and night cycle and temperature system, but things like shelter, heater, and air conditioning could be way more important if things like snow and rain influenced your production. Next up is going to relate to the new player experience. The map of Palworld is set up a bit strangely. Level 10 and level 40 areas can often be found side by side of each other, and the outer rings of the islands are actually low-level starting islands. When you are defeated in the game, you can actually choose to respawn at the edges of the map rather than your base. New players choosing what island they would like to start on would actually vary the gameplay among new players and the general starting experience. Now let's talk bases. Clearly the AI needs a little work, but in terms of new features, there's a lot of things that they can do. New technology should definitely include some fixes for weight and inventory problems. I like the idea of large travel bags that would greatly reduce your weight but make you unable to battle, or later transitioning into teleporters that directly let you move resources between bases. If they introduce a system like weather, there could be a lot more air conditioning systems, lightning rods. The list is really endless when it comes to bases, and in this category I'll leave it up to the developers and I'll just say, please surprise me with some awesome new base tech. Next up is going to be PAL progression. After a certain point in the game, later game pals just tend to outshine a lot of the early game pals. Even this Pangolin with Artisan and Lucky still can't produce as fast as a Jormuntide with level 4 watering. The condenser does actually increase work suitability after the 4-star mark, but it takes around 110 duplicates to upgrade even a single pal. Many of these later game pals also tend to be much larger and take up a lot more space, and tend to struggle to fit through most tight areas of a base. I would love to see more ways to make your favorite pal be just as effective as the later game pal. I do think raids need a rework. It seems like raids are intended to be a natural part of the progression, where the devs want you to also be leveling up the pals at your base in addition to your normal party, but raids can ruin hours of hard work and limit the design space of bases by forcing you to create outer walls and defensive structures where there's hardly enough room as is. I'm not sure what causes it. In my playthrough, only one of my bases ever got raided, and once I moved that base, I no longer got raided at any of them. I'm actually worried that if they fix this in an update, that many of my wooden structures will eventually be burned to the ground, but we'll worry about that when the time comes. And the final thing that I'm going to talk about is going to be dungeons. Dungeons actually have some really unique visuals and cool designs, but the rooms tend to feel a bit samey, and the rewards tend to feel a little lackluster for the time and effort put into them. Personally, I think Pal Souls should be a more plentiful and primary reward for these dungeons, and the inclusion of rare cosmetics would be a huge incentive to keep coming back. I'm super excited to see what the future of Palworld has for us, but let me know in the comments what new feature or addition you think you would be most excited to see. Happy adventuring, everyone.